Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're tackling something uh, pretty significant, I think, and that's dementia care.
It's a big one.
Yeah, and we're going to be drawing a lot of our insights today from a book called A Devoted Daughter by Karima Mustafa.
Great book.
Yeah, and one of the things that's so powerful about this book is that it's a firsthand account
Absolutely.
of Karima's own journey as a caregiver for her mother for 16 years.
Wow.
So we're really going to unpack, what are the different types of dementia? What are some of those really crucial caregiving aspects, and why is it so important to get the right medical care and the right diagnosis? And then also something that's so important, but I think often overlooked, is the idea of respite care.
Yeah, it's so important to remember that dementia isn't just one thing, it's an umbrella term.
Right.
And I think this book does a really excellent job of highlighting all the diverse forms of dementia.
Yeah.
It goes way beyond just Alzheimer's disease, which we hear about so often.
I think a lot of people, myself included, you hear dementia and you immediately think of Alzheimer's.
Right.
But this book, mentions vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia,
Right.
even dementia related to Parkinson's disease.
hmm
It's amazing.
And what's fascinating here is that understanding the specific type is really crucial for crafting the right care plan.
Oh, that makes sense.
For instance, someone with vascular dementia, which is caused by reduced blood flow to the brain, might benefit from strategies to manage vascular health, but someone with Lewy body dementia, which often involves visual hallucinations,
Wow.
might need a totally different approach.
That's like trying to solve a puzzle without knowing what the picture is supposed to be.
Exactly. That's why getting the right diagnosis is paramount. It's not just about putting a label on it, but understanding, the potential progression, the treatments, and the specific support resources that are available for that particular type.
So for someone listening who, maybe suspects a loved one is showing signs of dementia, what would you say is the most important takeaway here?
Don't hesitate to seek professional medical advice.
Yeah,
If you're noticing any cognitive changes in a loved one, don't dismiss them as simply getting older.
right.
Early detection is absolutely key in dementia care.
Makes sense.
The sooner you have a diagnosis, the better equipped you'll be to navigate this whole journey.
That's a great point.
Hmm.
Early intervention can make such a difference, and it reminds me of something else that struck me in the book, the discussion about early warning signs.
Yes,
And some of them are more subtle than you might think.
absolutely. It's not just about memory lapses,
Correct. Right.
The book highlights signs like struggling with familiar tasks, confusion with time or place, or even difficulty understanding visual images.
Wow.
These can be very easily overlooked.
One thing that surprised me was learning that sometimes people with dementia might put things in unusual places and then
Yes.
become convinced that someone stole them. That must be so difficult to deal with as a caregiver.
It is, but understanding that it's the dementia affecting their judgment and reasoning, not some malicious intent, can help you approach the situation with more patience and compassion.
It really underscores how important it is to not just focus on the physical aspects of caregiving, but also the emotional and psychological support.
Exactly. And speaking of support, let's talk about respite care.
Okay.
This is something the book emphasizes repeatedly, and it's a topic that often doesn't get enough attention.
When I first heard the term respite care, I wasn't really sure what it meant, but reading about Karima's personal experience in the book really brought it home for me.
Yeah.
She talks about how crucial respite care was for her own well-being
Yeah.
and her ability to continue providing quality care for her mother.
Respite care is essentially temporary relief for caregivers.
Okay.
It can involve anything from having a friend or family member step in for a few hours
Right.
to utilizing formal respite care programs. And it's not selfish to seek this help, it's essential.
And it's not just about the caregiver, right? I mean, respite care can also benefit the person with dementia by providing them with new experiences and social interaction.
Precisely. It can be a win-win situation for everyone involved.
Yeah.
It allows the caregiver to recharge, reduces stress, and ultimately helps prevent burnout. And that's key. You can't pour from an empty cup, you know?
Right. Right.
Taking care of yourself is crucial for being able to provide compassionate and consistent care to your loved one.
Absolutely. And that makes me think about another essential aspect of dementia care that the book really dives into, and that's communication.
Yeah,
Communicating with someone who has dementia, I mean, it can be really challenging.
it can.
But a devoted daughter offers some really fantastic strategies,
Mm-hmm.
for navigating those difficulties.
One of the things that really stood out to me was Karima's advice on using simple phrases and closed-ended questions.
Okay.
So instead of asking something open-ended like, "What would you like for lunch?" which can feel very overwhelming. She suggests offering concrete choices like, "Would you like a sandwich or soup?"
Oh, that's such a simple shift. But I can see how that would make a world of difference, you know?
Yeah,
For someone who's struggling with cognitive processing, it's almost like how we talk to young children,
absolutely.
breaking things down into smaller, more manageable pieces.
It's about meeting them where they are cognitively,
That's true.
respecting their current abilities and making
Yeah.
communication as effortless as possible.
Yeah.
And speaking of respecting their abilities, the book also talks about the importance of avoiding talking about the person with dementia as if they're not there.
Oh, that's such a good point.
Yeah,
It's so easy to slip into that habit, especially when you're with other people who might not understand the situation.
it is.
But it's so crucial to remember that even if someone's cognitive abilities are declining, they're still a person
Mm-hmm.
deserving of respect and dignity.
Exactly. And this leads to another really valuable tip from the book, using visual cues
Okay.
as verbal communication becomes more difficult. Pointing to objects using gestures or even incorporating pictures can be incredibly helpful.
It's almost like we're tapping into those fundamental modes of connection that we use even with babies and toddlers
Yeah.
before they develop language skills.
And those connections are so important,
Right.
It's
Yeah.
a reminder that even as dementia progresses, that capacity for emotional connection remains.
One of the things I really appreciated about A Devoted Daughter is how Karima doesn't shy away from the more difficult aspects of dementia care.
Absolutely.
She talks really openly about things like sleep disturbances and sundowning,
Right.
which I know are very common.
Sleep disturbances are almost inevitable as dementia progresses,
Yeah.
and sundowning, where confusion and agitation worsen in the late afternoon and evening,
Yeah.
can be particularly challenging for caregivers.
Oh, for sure.
The book explores, a range of potential causes from internal imbalances and fatigue to changes in light and disrupted circadian rhythms.
What I found really helpful were the practical coping strategies that Karima suggests.
It's establishing consistent routines, managing light exposure, ensuring daytime activity. I mean, it all makes so much sense.
Those strategies are aimed at creating predictability and addressing potential triggers.
Right.
And there are other simple things you can try, like creating a calming bedtime routine with a warm bath or soft music or a cup of herbal tea.
It's like we're creating a soothing sensory environment to signal that it's time to wind down.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of how we often create, special bedtime rituals for children
Right.
to help them relax and prepare for sleep.
And just as with children, sometimes adjusting meal times to avoid late-day hunger can be helpful.
Oh, that's so true.
A growling stomach can definitely contribute to sundowning.
And speaking of challenging situations, the book also discusses hallucinations and delusions,
Yes.
which can be really distressing for both the person with dementia and their caregivers.
It's important to remember that these experiences, while perhaps frightening or confusing for us, are very real to the person with dementia.
Arguing or trying to reason them out of their beliefs is usually counterproductive.
Yeah, the book suggests, acknowledging their feelings, offering reassurance.
Hmm.
So instead of saying, that's not real, you might say, I understand you're feeling scared. I'm here with you and you're safe.
That validation and comfort can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
And sometimes simply redirecting their attention to a familiar activity or object can help to kind of break that cycle of fear or anxiety.
It's all about meeting them where they are emotionally,
Right.
and finding ways to create that sense of safety and security.
That's the heart of compassionate dementia care, isn't it?
Yeah.
Recognizing that the person is still there even if their reality has shifted.
And embracing that reality, however challenging it may be, is part of the devoted dance of caregiving.
It really is a dance. And like any good dance partner, a caregiver needs to be adaptable,
Yeah.
responsive to the ever-changing rhythm of the person they're caring for.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. What worked yesterday might not work today.
Right.
You're constantly observing, learning, and adjusting your approach
Mm-hmm.
as the person's needs evolve.
And it's okay to stumble in that dance.
Yeah.
It's okay to feel overwhelmed or unsure of the next step.
Right.
The important thing is to recognize your limits
Yeah.
and reach out for support.
That's something Karima really emphasizes throughout the book.
Yeah.
Seeking support from family, friends, or professional services isn't a sign of weakness.
Right.
It's a sign of strength.
Absolutely.
It's about recognizing that you don't have to do this alone, and that taking care of yourself
Yes.
is essential for being able to provide the best possible care.
Exactly. Asking for help allows you to step back, recharge, and return to your caregiving role
Right.
with renewed energy and perspective.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into A Devoted Daughter, what's the one message you want to leave our listeners with?
I think it boils down to the power of understanding.
Okay.
Understanding the different types of dementia, understanding the person's unique experiences and preferences, and understanding your own limits as a caregiver.
And I'd add that even amidst the challenges, there's still room for love, joy, and connection.
Absolutely.
Karima's story so beautifully illustrates that even in the face of this devastating disease, those moments of grace and tenderness can shine through.
They absolutely can. And by embracing love seeking support and fostering understanding, we can make this journey, this dance, a little easier, a little more graceful, and a little more fulfilling for both the person with dementia and the devoted caregiver by their side.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of dementia care. We hope you found it insightful, perhaps even a little bit inspiring. And if you're on this caregiving journey yourself, please remember you're not alone. There's a whole community of support out there, so please reach out and connect. And as always, happy diving.